Turn your living room into a joyful, hands-free playroom with CoComelon Sing and Play with JJ. Your child sings, moves, and learns right alongside JJ and friends, all on the big screen. It's designed thoughtfully to spark speech, rhythm, and coordination through songs and active play. Try an ad-free, safe, and interactive way to make screen time part of their learning and growth. Parents love how easy it is, voice-controlled and frustration-free. Kids love every moment of singing, laughing, and playing along. It's fun for them, and it's feel-good for you. Available now in the Volley app on your smart TV. Just search Volley in your TV's app store and start your free trial of CoComelon Sing and Play with JJ today. That's CoComelon Sing and Play with JJ. Available now in the Volley app on your smart TV. Search Volley and start your free trial today.
Volley. Welcome to Homeschooling Outside the Box, the podcast that encourages and equips moms to homeschool an outside-the-box child. Hey there, I'm Cindy Renna. Thanks so much for listening. As I sit down to record this on a rainy Sunday afternoon, the word on everybody's minds and hearts and lips all over the country is, of course, coronavirus. This is a thing that's sweeping the country. It's something that we need to be informed about, but it's also something that's causing lots and lots of fear and anxiety. And so as I sat down to record and decide what I was going to talk to you about today, it dawned on me that it would be best to share from my own home and my own heart on how we've been struggling with anxiety. Of course, all this talk of the coronavirus and sickness, and any time a topic like this comes up, it can trigger anxiety. Now, it triggers anxiety in anybody, really. This is something that's we're learning about and can be very scary. But when you have a child with autism who struggles with anxiety anyway, or any child who has a generalized anxiety disorder or any type of struggles in this department, it can really, really escalate quickly. And so over the last 10 or so years, we've kind of learned some things about how to respond that were more helpful than other ways. So I just thought I would like to take today to share some of those ideas with you. Of course, my disclaimer, I'm not a doctor or a psychiatrist or anything like that. I'm just a mom who has a lot of hours in the field when it comes to anxiety. So I would like to share today with you what we've learned along the way. You can take what you wish and try it yourself, see what might work for your family, throw out the rest. But I just wanted to share with you from my heart today. So a few years ago, on my blog, I had written a post called Autism and Anxiety. I guess that was 2014, so it's been some years ago. So I'm going to pull some from that post, but I've also got some new thoughts. We've learned a few things in 6 years, so I wanted to share some updated information with you too. But I will link to that post in the show notes in case you want to go back and reread some of that. So if you know anything about autism, you probably know that autism and anxiety can be two peas in a pod. So our oldest son, who is on the spectrum, has struggled with severe anxiety for years now. He'll panic about things like storms or anything that's weather related. When he was younger, if the clouds would get too dark, he would run around the house, lock all the doors, and command everybody to stay inside. He was certain that at any moment a tornado was going to come pick up our house like it did in The Wizard of Oz. He would also panic about things that were maybe a little more difficult for us to understand where that anxiety came from. So he could end up in great anxiety over an item being misplaced. If something accidentally got left at a friend's house, or if he had a Lego that belonged to us that ended up being left behind somewhere. He would be a mess until it got back where it belonged. There was a time that we had an old wingback chair that had these buttons that would press in, and it wasn't with a sharp pin, but it was enough that if you stepped on it, it would be uncomfortable and disturbing. So one of the times the pin popped out and he stepped on it and he ran screaming through the house. He was probably 5 at the time, that he'd been shot, and he was certain he was going to die. He was screaming that all the blood was leaving his body. Is this bad? How do we stop the bleeding? Am I going to die? And when it's happening, when situations like this are happening, especially in the very beginning before you fully understand, it's almost comical, just to be honest, because it's not, it seems so bizarre that he would really think that. But he really thought that. And here's where I need us to get on the same page, because that is really important to remember. My husband and I, neither of us are strangers to anxiety attacks. We have personally enjoyed these trials ourselves, so we know firsthand that when they are happening, they are a very real thing, and they can feel really, really debilitating. So even as rational adults, we struggle with how to handle these and ourselves, and how to talk yourself into a place of calm when it's happening. So picture that amplified for a non-rational child who has autism. It's really a scary thing for them. So the first thing that's really important for you to do when a child starts to panic, whether it's about the news coming in, about what's happening in our country or all over the world right now with this coronavirus, or any other issue that might trigger anxiety, is to take 3 deep breaths. Okay? That needs to be the first step, you and them. So being the parent in the situation is no picnic either, because you could accidentally do something that furthers the anxiety. And sometimes the response or the reaction that he's looking for, or that will help the situation, is not always going to be one that makes sense or what your first thought would be. So your knee-jerk reaction of, "Oh, you're fine," is wrong, by the way. He's not okay. Clearly, if he's in a state of panic, it's very frustrating for someone to tell you that you're okay when you don't feel like you are okay. So let's just skip that part of it. It doesn't mean you have to get all worked up with them. In fact, I want you to do the opposite. But no matter how bizarre the reason is for the panic, whether it's a tiny cut on his foot, okay, that's all irrelevant. So move on to helping him. Don't try to talk him out of it. Just meet him where he's at. Okay, so see if you can literally take 3 deep breaths and encourage him to do the same. Once you are able to calm slightly, pray together. Okay, I want you to pray and just focus on what is actually true, because a lot that happens with anxiety and fear is not true. So if you can realign your thoughts with truth, that is helpful. But especially concerning what's going on now with the coronavirus, just, a lot of people feel powerless. They don't know what to do. You can always pray, and that is a real thing to do. That is helpful. So pray together. Pray for our country. Pray for the doctors and scientists. Pray for our politicians and decision makers. Pray for the people who are sick. Pray for leaders. Pray for your family. Pray for the elderly. Pray for the poor. Pray for peace. Just pray. And then you kind of move your thoughts from your situation to bigger thoughts on God. Okay, so what is true? That God is good. Even when all these crazy things are happening and terrible things are happening, God is still good. Okay, we might not understand that. It might not feel correct, but it is correct. And He's in control. And He's bigger than this. And He's not surprised by these things. And if you can get them to a place of, this anxiety doesn't need to rest on our shoulders, because we can lay it down to someone who is bigger and is powerful and is able and is loving and is good, that can sort of take some of the edge off of things as well. Okay, so the next thing you want to do, the next thing to do is to protect and guard their hearts and minds. All right, this again is more specific to issues that are triggers, or things with the news coming in right now, we're being flooded with information concerning the disease, and some of it is very helpful and it's good to stay informed, but some of it is not, especially if you're a child and you're already scared and you already struggle with anxiety. So limit and filter what comes in. All right, you can stay informed, but don't panic. We had a little family meeting this morning because we had to explain to them why we weren't going to church. Our church had dropped down to just one service, encouraged the elderly to stay home, and pretty much told everybody you need to do what is best for your family. We're going to live stream. It's going to be recorded. So we are going to watch it tonight instead of going. I have an autoimmune disease, so that sort of played into that decision as well. But we needed to have a little meeting about it. We needed to sit them down and tell them life was going to change over the next few weeks, that we were, activities had been canceled. Their dad might be working from home because his job is connected to the government. So the government's, of course, making some changes. And we just wanted to brief them in a way like, hey, things are going to change, but we controlled what information they got and the manner it was presented in. So we weren't sugarcoating things, but we weren't saying it in a way where it was fear-based. We have been watching CNN 10 as a family in our homeschool for all school year, and it's been wonderful. But guess what they cover every single day? So my son, who has anxiety, does not watch it with us anymore, and that's fine. Or he skips that part and he comes in after they're done talking about it. He does not need a play-by-play of every single thing that's happening. So don't feel like you shouldn't guard their hearts. This is a time where it's very beneficial to guard their hearts and distract them. Okay? This is a great time to use distraction. When our son was little and the anxiety really first began, we would wrap him up in his blanket really tight, and we'd squeeze him and give him some of that deep pressure, and then we would read to him or we'd watch a movie. Most of the time, what is triggering the anxiety is not an actual issue that needs to be resolved, at least not at that time, or it's a situation that you can't resolve, like with the coronavirus. There's nothing we can do to fix it, stop it, make it go away. There are things you can do to prevent it. We'll talk about that in a minute. But in that moment for your child, there's nothing you're going to say that's going to fix it. So we switch gears in our mind. We move on to something else. So we don't try to solve the problems in the midst of it. As the parent, you want to kind of take a mental note like, oh, storms are a trigger for him. Oh, anything to do with being sick is a trigger for him. Okay, things being lost are a trigger. Okay, and then when your child is calm and disconnected from the event, there might be an opportunity to talk about it, but a lot of times it's better for you as a parent just to take the note and move on with life and drop it. But use these situations where you're going to distract. Use this time to, let him watch his favorite show, or pop a movie in and watch it as a family, or do some of his favorite activities, whether it's games or puzzle. If he likes coloring or playing ball, or, that would be a great time for you to just disconnect from the trigger and move on to another activity. Even as an adult, when I start to get very overwhelmed, I will sort Legos, which sounds really silly, but we have thousands and thousands of Legos in our home. And so they're all in these buckets organized by colors. But then, of course, there's this continual massive amount of unsorted Lego in the cleanup bucket. So when I really start to get overwhelmed, you can probably find me sitting on the floor sorting Legos into buckets. And there's something calming about that to me, to be doing something repetitive and methodical. It's really similar to how our kids on the autism spectrum ISM or STIM, they find an action that is calming and soothing and predictable and repetitive. And for some reason, that helps bring peace to the mind. So whatever it is, help him or her to do that and do it with them. And that can create really a calming situation. All right, the next thing is to prepare. So I encourage you, go buy the vitamins, go buy the air filters. And if you can find it, for goodness sake, buy toilet paper. Don't get ridiculous, but have extra food. That was one of our son's biggest concerns with this is, are we going to run out of food? What's going to happen? So I know that's probably not a real thing. We're probably not going to be at risk of running out of food, but if it makes him feel better to see a full pantry, then by all means, go ahead, stock up. If there's a certain item he's worried about running out of, buy a few backups, give him something tangible and real that he can see and hang on to, because if the panic comes back up and, oh, we're going to run out of food, I could just open the pantry and say, oh, but remember, we bought 2 extra bags of those, or whatever it is that he's panicked about. And so that having something physical and tangible can really help for them to, it's like a reference point, And so even if it's not a guarantee, it still helps them, oh, well, because mom went shopping and bought extra food, then it's going to be okay. And he can remind himself of that. So go ahead and prepare. Then you also want to stay positive. Your attitude is crucial when at times of anxiety. They're going to look to you to decide when to panic. This morning when my son was starting to sort of fall apart when we were telling him what was going on, my husband told him, he said, look at my face. And so he did. And he said, when this face panics, then it's okay for you to panic. But until then, you don't need to worry, And so that was such a great picture of, parents and children, that they're going to watch our response to this, our reaction to things, and they are going to decide how they feel about a situation based on how we are acting. So you need to do your best to stay calm. Don't be on Facebook checking incident tools every 20 minutes. You don't need to do that. You need to make sure that you are the voice and presence of calm and peace in the home. And so one of the ways to do that is to stay positive. That's the best way. So find the silver lining in this situation. I mean, they've closed down the NBA, they've closed down Disney, they've closed down all the little kids' activities where we live. They're shutting schools. So you look at all that, and on one hand, you're like, wow, this is really real and big and kind of scary because all these things are happening. But the flip side of that is that our culture is chronically busy. And now we're not. Okay? So it's good to slow down and turn down the volume on life. That is good for our kids, for our family, for our souls. It's a good thing. So look for the silver lining of that. Enjoy the positive side of the shutdown and tell your kids that. Oh, well, I'm so sorry we don't have scouts and ballet this week, but that means that we can, instead of having our busy Monday night, we can have time to bake cookies after dinner, or have tea time in the middle of the week, or whatever it is, or we'll have time to have family game night on a Thursday, or whatever it is that you think will help them to see the brighter side of this. Do it. Put those things in your calendar. And that leads to the next point, which is to pursue projects. Okay? Stay home with your family. Go ahead, be safe, be cautious. Don't try to get out there and be in large groups of people. Heed the advice of all the wise people, what they are telling us. So stay in your home, play in your backyard, run around outside. The weather where we live is about to break, and that means we're looking at the 70s and perfect outdoor weather, So hopefully that's a good thing for all of this, but we can crack some windows and we can go on walks and be outdoors and not be in congested, closed quarters. Okay, but while you are home, read books, bake cookies, work on a photo book, knit, sew, plant seeds. This is the perfect time to get a little garden growing, even if it's just in little pots, and kids love that, to plant seeds and watch it grow. So that would be a wonderful thing. Create beauty in a time of chaos. Isn't that a thought? And if things get bad enough, you'll have something to eat. So it might just be radishes and lettuce and herbs, but that could be something tangible that your child with anxiety can see. Like if the idea of running out of food is panicking, oh, well, we can grow some things. Do things that nurture your soul while you are home. Binge watch the Chronicles of Narnia, or do a family Lego build where everybody has a theme. There's that show, Lego Masters, out right now. So we're doing like our own home version of that. And so our theme was heroes and villains. And so they have to create a scene with a hero and a villain. But get creative. Find something that you can do. And everybody, I'm sure, has a list of projects that they just don't have time for. And this next month, when the country and the world is a little bit locked down, this would be a great time to pursue those. And remember, Shakespeare wrote over 100, maybe 150 sonnets during the bubonic plague. Paul wrote some of his best letters while in a prison cell. So I think a lot of times God will give us these times where we feel like we're stuck or stationary or not moving. It's good to not be moving sometimes. That could be a really good thing. All right, and so the last thing is to stay patient. Okay, if you have somebody struggling with anxiety, this is probably not going to be something that just goes away. So you want to be patient. For our son, it's the constant questions, the peppering of questions. Am I okay, Mom? Is this safe? Can I eat this? Is this bad? Am I going to get sick? Are we okay? And it will be, he could open the fridge and get leftovers from the night before. Is this fine? Can I eat this? And again, for him, it's real. And so there's no reason for me to respond in any other way than, yes, absolutely. Happy, upbeat, no problem. You don't want to convey that they're bothering you. And today it was so precious because he came up to me and he said, is it okay if I keep asking if we're okay? And I thought, it is absolutely okay if you keep asking if we're okay. And I think of how we are children of God, and it's the same thing. God, is this okay? God, can you help me? Is this going to be all right? Are we safe? It's, yes, ask questions and be patient with them and let that be okay. And just think, every time you answer their question in a loving, positive way, you are adding a layer of reassurance to them. So that's a gift that you can give them, is just that positive and patient attitude with them, and just keep smiling and maybe get silly with it. If you can find an opportunity, if they're kind of stuck on something, like with the food, for instance. Today was, are we going to run out of food? And I said, well, you're lucky I know how to cook, and we might just have to live off chocolate chip cookies, and so try to spin it in a way where we're moving off of the fear, off of the anxiety, and into a place of, okay, so we have enough food, we have these ingredients, Mom knows how to cook, we have all these options, and these are tangible things he can hang on to. Just let the repetitions go, because that's really itself can be an ism or a stimming activity, that repetitious, calming way that can be him sorting Legos. That can be his way of calming himself by asking you questions. So you always want to stay patient and realize this is really something that's real to them, that they're struggling with, and you getting frustrated or angry or irritated will not stop it, but it will create a division or a breach or a tear in your relationship, which is going to make it harder for you and harder for them too. So any way that you can keep that nurtured and keep that solid is going to be a good thing. So that's all I have today on anxiety. So I hope that some of this will help you and your family as you comfort and love on each other during this time of anxiety, and that we can set an environment and an atmosphere in our own homes of peace and calm instead of anxiety and fear. Thanks so much for listening to Homeschooling Outside the Box. If you are loving the show, please head over to iTunes and leave a review. This is a great way to help other moms just like you find encouragement in their homeschool with their outside the box child as well. For more encouragement, be sure to head to cindyrenna.com and you can check out some great blog posts as well as a shop that will help equip you on your homeschooling journey.